evil clones, dark side, carbon copies, doubles. They're all different terms on describing a character's mirrored and often malicious self, also known as double walkers. Any villain can buy the cheapest way on making their own darker tone of the hero, just to have the upper hand in the competition. It's unbelievably common in how often we see a corrupt version of oneself, and oftentimes, it can be pretty epic and memorable, but they can even surpass the cliched creations. So let's check out my top 10 doppelgangers in video games. Same rules apply, only from games I played, one per franchise, and they must have the following: a ghostly counterpart of a living person, a person who closely resembles a living person, and the opposite side of a personality or alter ego. Don't be afraid now.
Quick! Conquer yourself! Do what you do if you wanted to outsmart yourself? Sorry, Link. This is new. I've never seen something like this before.
Kensuke Dimachi versus... Ready? Go!
Starting off this list is the final snowboarder of 1080. This Go clone appears whoever's able to master all races in order to reach the last challenge, Deadly Fall. It is no joke, as the carbon copy would take shape as any character in a translucent fashion, and it'll challenge you in the most fatal race in the game. This clone is highly skilled and can go through the deadly slopes with ease, even without slipping and taking damage. You need to be a master in order to conquer it, as well as that course. I'm surprised there's no avalanche here. The reason it's so low on the list is because it pops right the hell out of nowhere and only appears in this one forsaken race. There's no origin to this, and it's only just filler. Good luck trying to take this baby out on this dead man's turf. At the 9th spot, we have Polymorphic Auric, Xana's creation of Auric Stern, one of the Code Lyoko warriors. At the start of Chapter 14 in the story of Get Ready to Virtualize, Jeremy alerts Auric there's a doppelganger of him at the ice sector. And you are alone! This was supposed to be based on an episode revelation, and this is a very tough fight to endure, as he has more hit points than you can gain, and he's extremely powerful and fast. Your only chance in attacking him is taking quick swipes while he raises and charges up his sword, at least 4 of them. Then, avoid his very swift charges as well as throwing his boomerang. By the time he cackles and raises his sword again, run in and take him out. He's only at number 9 since he only appears once in the first game. I haven't seen him in the series yet, even though I'd read he takes on multiple forms of the other warriors to create conflict between them. He's not only a double you want to go back to because on how damn difficult he is, and he's just a very cheap copy Xana created. And this was even before it brainwashed William during the fall of Xana. Ugh, it was such a damned relief when I finally was able to exterminate that evil copy. Mileena from Mortal Kombat is one of the most impactful doppelgangers in gaming history. She's the clone of her sister Kitana, the Princess of Outworld, specifically Edenia. She made her first appearance in Mortal Kombat 2, and I thought she was just a palette swap, much like some of the monsters in Final Fantasy IV. But there's more than meets the eye.
Kitana, you wish.
Fight!
As Shao Kahn was becoming paranoid of Kitana's possible findings of his betrayal, he ordered Shang Tsung to create Mileena straight from the flesh pits. Ugh! Disgusting! Combining Edenia DNA with Tarkatan blood, much like Baraka, Mileena was created as a deadly warrior and bloodthirsty mutant. Ah! Just looking at her face without her vial gives me the jibbies! Speaking of which, it's said she's seductive and at one time, even Baraka has the charms for her. Very queasy, even with her revealing outfits. Ugh! Mileena is a very lethal fighter, even when she wields her swift sais, or even when she uses her flying kicks. She usually spams the crap out of it, whether it be in 2 or Shaolin monks. I'm not a huge fan of Mortal Kombat, and she's one of my least favorite characters and doppelgangers. Believe me, it's tough to like her, which is why she only takes the 8th spot. I mean, how can you love someone who looks and does that? No wonder she was caught out in Defenders of the Realm.
Oh, stop! Just stop!
Up next, we have the chubby, hilarious clone of Mario, the obese and obscure Wario. Ever since I first saw him in Mario Kart 64, he was a hilarious character, even when he whines as he gets struck and shrunk by lightning. I never played his debut game, Super Mario Land 2, but he was still interesting. While he isn't an evil clone, he still has a greedy, gluttonous personality and still opposes his rival. It was said that he always has been jealous over Mario's fame and glory since they were infants. And honestly, how can I blame him? Heck, in Melee there was a Japanese exclusive in which a bucket manipulates Mario's actions. If it's M, he's normal. If it's a W, it means he's being controlled by Wario. Very interesting. Wario has always been a fun character, and his incredible strength can't be beat, whether it be in Super Mario 64 DS, or even his epicness in Wario Land 4. I was pretty surprised that he would take a heroic role, even when he wanted to join Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi to defeat Bowser. Or even collect artifacts and save a cursed cat, which later became an enchantress. He's always a joy to play, no matter how maniacal or mischievous he has to be. And he does have a variety of skills and transformations, especially when he was finally chosen as a fighter since Smash Bros. Brawl. I didn't pick Waluigi for my list since I hardly seen him aside from Mario Party 6, even though I'm not really a fan of the series, nor the sports games. Sorry, Billiam. Wario's nearly considered as a doppelganger to Mario, as he seems to be his polar opposite pretty much. After all, his hysterical actions and personality does surpass that silent robot protagonist. Regardless of him as an anti-hero, protagonist, or antagonist, Wario is always one of my all-time favorite characters in the Mario series. Doppelgangers don't always have to be evil to be jolly. At number 6, we have the alpha male of the Star Wolf team, Wolf O'Donnell. Now, some may say he doesn't count as a doppelganger as he was never created nor copied from Fox, and he's not the replica of the hero. Still, I'd like to think of him as such as he's like Fox's alter ego, as he has top-notch abilities in leadership, weaponry, and a more fierce pilot of his copy of the R-Wing, the Wolfen, which is just as capable. After all, his goal is to destroy the Star Fox team, especially Fox himself, and by the time he was hired by Andross since the Lilat Wars, he was more than trigger-happy to do so. And so he shortly formed a team of his own, always hell-bent on ruling over the heroes, even their leader. He functions just as well as Fox does, and provides quite a challenge in Fashina, the Boris space station, and definitely Venom near his master's own turf. But he wasn't always evil. In Assault, he volunteered to actually help the Star Fox team destroy the Aporoids because... Come on, would you rather save the universe to preserve your rivalry and fight him for another day without it being manipulated by the Borg ripoff invasion? Anyway, he did give sound advice to never hesitate, just act, which in turn helped save the Lilat system. He also happens to be a clone of Fox in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, 4, and Ultimate, sharing a similar moveset. Wolf may not have been an evil creation cloned by the enemy, though he does share a lot of similar characteristics to the hero, much like any of the trainers in Pokemon, or even how Bertram is to Stewie, thus making him count as number 6 on my list.
You're good, but I'm better.
Jet Black Sion, also known as Black Hooded Sion, is a doppelganger introduced in the underrated PS2 beat-em-up, The Bouncer. He is the evil spitting image of Sion Barzad, the main protagonist, and his way to unlock him is... interesting. As you'd notice in Versus mode, every character unlocked has 4 color schemes. The default, often red, white, orange, and black. As you would choose Sion, you'd notice that he has all colors, excepting his black portrait. So what happened there? Well, you'd have to go to survival mode and conquer it. An endurance test with any character beating all deadly foes in about 10 different levels. 49 total. By the time you get to Mikado's executive floor, you'll encounter Sion in a completely different getup, and even hear his own signature fight song. Oh man, his theme song is epic, man! Let me tell ya. And by the time he's defeated, Black-Hooded Sion is indeed unlocked. While he doesn't really have anything different, much like the Doppelganger in 1080, he still is impactful. I always thought, is this how Sion would be? If he would have become a complete sadistic killer and enjoy fights just for the hell of it? The way that Doragon used to be? I did include him in his very own saga, if you're interested. Bottom line, Black-Hooded Sion is one of the most fascinating doppelgangers in my personal experience. He may not be completely different as Sion, but it's like comparing Sonic to Shadow. Ever since I found a solution to play as him in Game Winners back in 2002, I always considered him as one of the best. These were the doppelgangers that were introduced in the original Smash Bros. For the N64, particularly when the player encounters them at the battlefield, and even the bonus level prior race to the finish. 4 of those cheap carbon copies are found there, while before facing Master Hand, the player must defeat all 30. They are just shiny polygonal cheap copies for each of the 12 characters, with some flaws and glaring differences. They can only use basic moves, which means they have poor recovery, and can easily fly off the stage while being hit. Still, it's always fun while doing so. I'd like to think this was an army that was created by Master Hand in order to stall the upcoming champion of the Smash Bros. Tourney before facing it. Even though they seem to be primitive predecessors of the wireframes in Melee, the Alloy Fighters in Brawl, and the Mii Fighters in Smash 4 and Ultimate. It's too bad they only appear in the original Smash, as it's always an enjoyable fight, even when accompanied by the audience's reactions as well as the battlefield theme. I miss them, and their battles are always sentimental. I wish they would have had an endless melee or at least a stamina mode while knocking the crap out of those cheapskates. Which is why they take a spot at number 4. As greedy and corporate as Nintendo is today, I doubt we'd ever have any more chances on seeing them ever again and have these exhilarating battles. Quite a shame, as their counterparts never had the potential in action-packed battles as they do. Blood Falcon takes the cake at number 3. It was astonishing how Nintendo developed a clone for the F-Zero series, especially since he's the evil clone of the elitist Captain Falcon. You see, after the horrific accident, Black Shadow stole Falcon's DNA while he was being hospitalized. For years, I never knew what the incident was. Not even GX gave me answers. Several years later, after I discovered him, as I never played X, I soon found out it was the grand finale in the treacherous circuit of the original F-Zero, Fire Field. And it's easy to see why. In order to have a leg up on the competition, the Emperor of Brutality created and trained him in the underworld, till the 7-year suspension was over. By the time the X Grand Prix rolled around, Blood made his first appearance, and he pilots the Bloodhawk, better known as the Hellhawk. And oh man, it is a beast whenever I use him on the tracks. It was supposed to surpass the Blue Falcon, but his grip stat needs work. No matter, he's a blast to use, even when Mr. Zero shakes in his boots while he interviews him and fears for his own life. But it didn't stop there. I wasn't very thrilled about him in anime, as Black Shadow only utilized dark reactor mites to make liquid metal copies of Blood, even when he attempted to manipulate the mobile task force, causing it to disband. Only until the Commissioner and Clank settled matters. I did make him as a more impactful cameo in my stories though, and his AI isn't a force to be reckoned with in the games! Despite these difficulties, Blood Falcon is without doubt one of the awesome clones I'd ever encountered, ever since I played GX. And if we happen to get a new F-Zero game, I hope that Nintendo and perhaps Sega will come up with some potential for that crazy copy sometime in the future. The most notable doppelgangers in the Pokemon series usually revolve around Mewtwo, Shadow Lugia, and evil rival trainers like Gary, Richie, Silver, and N, just to name a few. But nobody has even considered Eevee's own doppelganger. When it evolves at night with a high friendship, you got yourself Eevee's own doppelganger, Umbreon. Ever since the Dark types debuted in Gold and Silver, I always loved Umbreon. The Dark types have always been my favorite Pokemon type, and Umbreon was indeed the first. The Moonlight Pokemon is a very unique species, as it is said to gain special powers while absorbing moonlight, and the way it looks and sounds adds on to the cuteness and epicness factors, even when it prances and pounds like a little horse. I used to think it is a horse, but it's just a fox-like creature. It tends to strike fear to anyone who is nearby, even when its gold bands start to glow, and it leaps onto them within the darkness. It is also capable of spraying a poisonous sweat when it gets agitated. It's actually based on the black cat, which is symbolized as a lucky sign in Japan. Contrary to us, anyway. Or simply based on the moon rabbit. Umbreon's owned by a few trainers such as Gary and his Eevee, Virgil, who got lost with his Eevee in a forest during the night, which soon evolved into him, and even as one of Wes's starter Pokemon next to Espeon in Colosseum. Heck, my trainer OC Zelda II and Akari own one as well. And oh my god, Umbreon is a godsend when it clobbers those pesky psychic and ghost types. They're literally no match for the unstoppable Umbreon. It's completely immune to psychics and resistant to ghost types. In fact, its highest stat is special defense, which makes it so good. I am so glad there finally was a Dark-type Pokemon gym leader in Gen 8. Took them long enough, especially 6 generations after its debut. I freaking love Umbreon. It's always my all-time favorite Dark-type. And considering the Umbra kinetics are my mains, it just can't get any better. Alright, we're on our way to number 1, but first, let's give out some honorable mentions. The Fighting Polygon team were carbon copies that provided awesome battles. Blood Falcon was an interesting doppelganger of the hero. Umbreon is unique and had an awesome concept of a dark side. In order for someone to be number 1, it must combine all 3 of these traits. And I had faced a doppelganger that does. Ladies and mental gins?
Liquid Ocelot.
What? No! I never played Metal Gear Solid. And I never found him nor Alex to ever be enjoyable. I'm talking about the double-eyed faced who happens to be epic in the Final Fantasy universe. Dark Knight Cecil. Dark Knight Cecil is the complete definition of a doppelganger. He actually started as Cecil himself, but as he put on the dark armor as ordered by his guardian, the King of Baron, enabling him to be a formidable fighter wielding the black art. It did come at a price though, as the dark aura kept feeding him doubt, anxiety, and other overwhelming emotions.
I've worn this darkened armor for so long now. There's no more light left in me. Not even in my heart.
After he realized that darkness isn't the way of conquering evil, he accepted the challenge to climb up Mount Ordeals. And Cecil was finally able to relinquish his blood-stained past and embrace the light as a holy warrior, a paladin. While there, he had to face his own darkness and overcome his hatred, even with his lethal darkness ability. But he was successful, and I sometimes miss him utilizing a Dark Knight's abilities. Back then, he was almost like a powerhouse, as he was completely immune to status effects and equipped with some awesome equipment. Plus, he has his signature move Darkness, which increases his attack power for a short while, simultaneously sapping his stamina. In the after years, Cecil faces his doppelganger again within the lunar subterrane with his family, and he was just mental. The Dark Knight had been feeding the party with lies and chaos. He was a heavy hitter, equipping himself with the life-sapping Darkness and an instant kill move, Black Fang. By the time Cecil finally regained his senses, he accepted his corrupt copy as himself, something he shunned off once in his lifetime. And he assured him that he's not alone, while also embracing the both yin and the yang of his persona. Also, we can't forget him as a playable character in Dissidia, can't we? He always starts himself as a Dark Knight in some cutscenes. As long as he uses ground-sweeping abilities, he stays as an Umbra Kinetic, if he doesn't switch into his Paladin form with an HP move. Though his moves can be a little sluggish. He still relies on the camaraderie of his friends and helps them on ending the eternal conflict. In closing, Dark Knight Cecil is a unique doppelganger, as he is mostly an evil copy, but not always, as he does maintain his pure heart and his fondness for justice and friendship. I'm the Ekron writer, and Dark Knight Cecil can even surpass himself as the more cliched evil copy, as he is hands down my favorite doppelganger ever.